Hey folks, coming up in 10 minutes time, about 12 minutes. So yeah, if you're watching an archive version, you might want to fast forward about 10, 11 minutes. Otherwise, yeah, cool, bit of music for you, whatever. Copyright free, Facebook, yeah, copyright free. Minutes, people. Share the show. God bless you. Thank you. Do-do-do-do. You know what? Oh, blimey. Of course it's copyright free, for goodness sake. Do-do-do. Albert. Hello, mate.
Hello there.
Cheers. That's all right. Lovely. Good bit of coughing. Good to hear that you're healthy, sir. We're streaming. We're going live in about, well, we already are, but 8 minutes. God bless you. God bless you, Albert. All right. I'll put in your video. Thank you. Pleased you're wearing a shirt. Thank God for that.
Would it actually be you and your listeners?
Oh, God bless you, mate. Copyright free, Facebook. Yeah. Oh, that is just dreadful, isn't it? Hold on, let's see what this one's like. Is this any better? A bit better. Couldn't be any worse, could it? Don't know what's going on there. You know what, that's such a lot of nonsense. Hold on, let's listen to this instead. This is quite funny. Hold it. Oh. Hold it.
Brexit instigator, see you later. Gonna hit the road. Gotta hit that road.
Yeah.
Something changed in the atmosphere when I split the nation, so I disappeared. I'm gonna be blamed for this mess.
Yeah, you are.
Time flies by when I'm living dicked up and you're dying in austerity. There's a dead pig's gob that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be living off my trust fund underneath the hot sun, forgetting that I'm someone who held a referendum that divided a nation and broke the United Kingdom.
Yeah, cheers.
Call me Dave, I'm a football fan, but is it Aston Villa or West Ham? I don't know. But now I'm chillaxing round the clock on holiday in peace with my trotters up. I can get used to this. Standing guy at the front to call me a twat, but I got off scot-free, so I won't look back. Twat. Living off my trust fund underneath the hot sun, forgetting that I'm someone who held a referendum that divided a nation and broke the United Kingdom.
Blimey. Oh. Hello. What's going on there?
Right.
There you go. 2 minutes, people. Just filling in the gaps there. Don't know what's going on with the audio. All right. Oh. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Use this music as the kind of official Labour Party theme tune. This is dreadful. Do. Right, that's enough. That's enough of that. Hey folks. Good evening, good people. Welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And now, lawless. Our legal protections have been repealed, usurped, stolen. That's according to constitutional expert Albert Burgess, who is with me now. I've got Albert here on Skype. Albert, can you hear me, sir?
I can indeed.
Good evening. I'll embed your video in a minute. Now, tonight, going to try using Google Hangouts. If you want to call in using Google Hangouts. Because people just don't like Discord, do they? They don't like Discord. You can call in on Discord. You can call in on Google Hangouts. And you know what? Just for the hell of it, you can call in on Facebook Messenger if you want to. Just call my personal profile. If you've got any questions for Albert, or want to say anything. Jeremy Corbyn, God bless him. Yeah. So Albert, unbelievable with old Jeremy Corbyn today, backing a second referendum. I'm just going to pull that up on the screen now so that people can see what we're talking about. Jeremy Corbyn backs second referendum. That's coming in this evening. Labour have put out a statement saying that Jeremy Corbyn will formally back a second referendum tonight. He will be telling the Parliamentary Labour Party meeting tonight that Labour will back the Cooper-Letwin amendment to take no deal off the table and announce that Labour will also put forward or support an amendment in favour of a public vote to prevent a damaging Tory Brexit, they're calling it. I thought that we voted as a nation for to leave, Corbyn must be delighted by the prospect of going back to what Guido quoting him as calling an evil empire, the EU. It's just rank hypocrisy. According to the Labour statement, Corbyn will table his own amendment seeking to enshrine Labour's 5 Brexit demands in law. The soft Brexit plan Corbyn proposed to May, the no Brexit plan, call it for what it is, 3 weeks ago, as well as supporting the Cooper-Letwin amendment enabling a parliamentary putsch to delay Article 50. Let's have a quick look and see the actual wording. I tell you, it's so frustrating. This is what it's saying, apparently. This is Corbyn. The Prime Minister is recklessly running down the clock in an attempt to force MPs to choose between her botched deal and a disastrous no deal. We cannot and will not accept. Last week, after our visit to talk to EU officials and leaders in Brussels and Madrid, no one can be in any doubt Labour's alternative Brexit plan is serious and credible. We are convinced our alternative, which puts jobs and living standards first, it just puts the democratic will of the British people, right down the bottom of the queue, could command support in the House of Commons, bring people who voted leave and remain together. Oh, yeah, right. And be negotiated with the EU. That's why we will be putting down an amendment in Parliament this week, setting out on Wednesday, setting out Labour's plan for a comprehensive customs union with the UK say close alignment with the single market, guarantees, i.e. staying in it, guarantees on rights and standards, i.e. being told what to do, and not being able to strike out trade deals elsewhere. Protection for Britain's role in EU agencies. That is, I'm sure we would be secured for that. And a security agreement which guarantees access to the European arrest warrant and vital shared databases. We will be calling for legislation to underpin this mandate. We will also be backing the Cooper-Letwin amendment to rule out a no-deal outcome. One way or another, we will do everything in our power to prevent no deal. And opposing a damaging Tory Brexit based on Theresa May's overwhelmingly rejected deal. Albert Burgess, mate, what do you think when you hear not only the Tories now under May's deal, but also Labour plainly going against their manifesto? 80% of the people that voted at the last general election voted for either a Tory or a Labour manifesto that said they would respect the democratic will of the British people in that referendum. Apparently, neither party now wants to uphold democracy.
What do I think? Well, I think basically that we should take the whole lot out of both houses of Parliament and hang the lot of them. They are not doing the job that they're there to do, which is to look after our best interests. Contrary to common belief, the people in Parliament are there simply as advisors to the Queen, who is the Supreme Governor of England. On the 8th of March 1784, a vote was taken in Parliament about that, and it was agreed that King George III was our ultimate backstop for everything and was the Supreme Governor of England. There is no change to that vote since then. So Queen Elizabeth is the Supreme Governor of England.
Well,
the people voted.
Okay. Whoa. Yeah, okay. But we'll come on to that. And we'll come on to the Queen's role in this as well. Because whether or not she's upholding her sovereignty, it seems to me she's done a really, really poor job of it over the course of her reign. But so we'll talk about that, because I know you completely disagree with me on that. But what we're seeing in Parliament is just a complete denial of what we voted for. They voted to give us that referendum, and then they voted for Article 50, and now they're saying that they don't want it. They voted for Article 50 twice, effectively, actually.
Yeah. But you see, the point is that when we voted, we were asked a question: do you want to stay in Europe or do you want to leave? And we voted to leave. End of story. What Cameron should have done the morning after was picked up the phone to Europe and said, we're gone, the money is stopped. That's what should have happened. However, our politicians are corrupt to a man, and they are only interested in feathering their own nest. You can see that with the expenses claims, the fact that they give themselves outrageously high pay rises while keeping people like nurses, who ought to be paid more, on a basic pay rise. I think the nurses got 1%, they got 11%. It's just ridiculous that these people are able to vote any way they like and think that that is what matters. It isn't. What matters is the view of the electorate.
Yeah.
And if you take people like Anna Soubry, I think probably over 70% of her electorate voted to leave, and Anna Soubry is completely ignoring the wishes of the people who elected her. And so consequently, she should really be recalled and sacked, and they should have a by-election. They've walked out of their various parties, Labour and Tory. They've walked away from their parties, this little group, and they've decided that they're not going to resign and have a by-election because they can stay there and draw their money. And when they retire,
that's right.
If they go to the next election and get voted out, they still get their pension, which is, I think, their salary for life. So, we need to change an awful lot of things about Parliament and what happens with Parliament, what happens with politicians. Because basically they are not doing what they are there to do, which is to represent our best interests.
Aye, unbelievable. A few folks are saying hello to you, Albert. Lisa Hughes says, we had a vote. It was a people's vote, not a dry run. Chris Rumbold, any deal keeps us tied in. Any delay will get us tied in with the Lisbon Treaty. What's your take on that, Albert? There's a lot of people very concerned.
Somebody sent me something the other day, which, to be honest, I haven't had time to read fully because there's quite a lot of it. But the things that I did pick up is that Theresa May, as part of the agreement, is agreeing to give Europe our fishing grounds, and they are not hers to give away. And she's agreeing that we will continue to pay into the EU until 2064 at least. Now that wasn't what we voted for. Nope. None of that is what we voted for. We voted to recover our fishing grounds completely, and to get back our fishing grounds for ourselves, not for Europe. You know, why do we want European boats coming into our fishing grounds, fishing our fish, and then selling them to us? I mean, that's ludicrous. We should be fishing it ourselves and just buying it off our own fishermen and providing a livelihood for our own fishing industry, not everybody else's. The other thing is that we agreed when we voted to stop paying any money. Theresa May has no authority whatsoever to steal our money and commit us to having it stolen until 2064 at the latest, at the earliest, you know. So basically, you know, I mean, the whole thing is just a total cock-up, isn't it? And the whole thing is criminal and it's illegal. And we have a major problem in this country, is that we do not have police who will go out and arrest politicians. You know, they just
Albert,
won't do it.
We'll come on to that.
I really don't know why.
We will come on to that. Let's just go through a few more stories going on today that are kind of key. The Sun's reporting, a lot of everybody's reporting, Brexit could be delayed until 2021 to do away with the need for an Irish backstop. Under the latest thinking in Brussels, Britain's 21-month transition period after exit day on March 29th would be scrapped for continuing membership instead. EU chiefs are drawing up a plan to delay Brexit until 2021 to do away with the need for any Irish backstop. Under the latest thinking in Brussels, Britain's 21-month transition period after exit day on March 29th will be scrapped for continuing membership. Why do they just repeat the same paragraph twice? The move would mean a trade deal could be agreed by the end of December 2020, leaving no need for a backstop. Go on, Albert.
The thing is, Ollie, right? If we walk away with no deal, we buy more from Europe than they buy from us.
Yeah.
So basically, if we walk away and say, look, forget the deal, we don't want a deal, we're walking away, and we just stop trading with Europe, I will give it 3 months and Europe will come back begging us to have a trade deal.
I'd give them about 3 days. Yeah, completely.
You know,
absolutely.
Which we then have on our terms. For some reason, our politicians, for all of their university degrees, for all of their higher education and all the rest of it,
they've got no grasp of common logic.
They're just too stupid to understand simple things.
No, but they completely understand. And so does Theresa May completely understand. They're all a bunch of fakes and frauds. They know damn well what the deal is. They know damn well what the deal is.
I mean,
it's not that they're stupid. They just want the cash cow. So far as the EU's concerned, and so far as May's concerned, she's been given her orders by Bilderberg and all the rest of it.
Yeah. I've been saying for years now, we would be better off with a government of Cockney orange sellers.
Yeah.
Because they might not have an education, but they do have common sense.
Absolutely.
When Margaret Thatcher ran this country, she ran it like a housewife running the home. If you can't afford it, you don't buy it.
That's right. Kitchen economics.
And this country under Margaret Thatcher was quite well off. It was quite prosperous. And then we get other people come in and they wreck the whole thing. I mean, Cameron, for example, how much money did we spend upgrading the Nimrod early warning aircraft? We spent billions on that. Absolute billions, probably trillions on it. And the minute they were sort of coming up ready so that we could use the damn things, what does he do? He orders somebody with a JCB to drive a JCB through them all. I did write to Theresa May and say to her that they weren't Camerons to destroy. They belonged to the ratepayer, the taxpayer. They were not Camerons to destroy. And I wanted her to get the money for all of these aircraft off of Cameron. You know, because frankly, he sold our Harrier fleet for the cost of one Harrier. And yet we don't have aircraft on our aircraft carriers that are any use. The American F-35, as a land-based aircraft, is a very good aircraft. But there are so many limitations on the nautical version that it's just not worth having.
Let's have a listen quickly to Tusk and hear what he said today, because, I mean, we should be aware, really.
First of all, the Prime Minister May and I discussed yesterday a lot of issues, including the legal and procedural context of a potential extension. For me, it's absolutely clear that if there is no majority in the House of Commons to approve a deal, we will face an alternative, a chaotic Brexit or extension.
Okay, let me stop him just there, Albert. Now, can we just confirm, can we just clarify here the reason that this is a chaotic Brexit? Is it because Great Britain has been governed properly, and yet we are incapable and clearly wouldn't be any use at running our own affairs? Or is it because this country, the UK, is being run by traitors who do not want to carry out the government business, the business of the British people, basically upholding democracy and upholding that referendum that they promised to do?
I think it's the latter, Ollie, to be honest. I think that all of our politicians are treasonable.
You don't think that Theresa May is merely incompetent? That these people, these civil servants are incompetent?
No, I don't think they're incompetent. I think they are treasonable, and I think that they are looking at their own interests and what's in their best interest, rather than what's in the best interests of this kingdom as a whole. And basically, I think that what we should be doing is we should be saying to them, you know, we have treason laws, let's use them. Our problem is we cannot get police officers today to arrest politicians. Now, I don't know if you remember a few years back, I was policing at King's Cross at the time, so it's around between 86 and 91, that the DPP got arrested for curb crawling. My sergeant arrested him.
Right.
And he stopped his car and had a word with him, and the DPP said to him, do you know who I am, Sergeant? And he said, no. And he turned around and he said, well, actually, I'm the Director of Public Prosecutions. And my sergeant turned around and said to him, well, congratulations, because you're now a Nick Director of Public Prosecutions. But I can't see a policeman doing that today. You know, I mean, we have so much evidence of criminality in Parliament. For example, the cash for honours. Nobody that's in the House of Lords could justify on merit being there. Realistically, how many of them you could actually say deserve to be there on merit? The life peers I'm talking about. There are none of them. The only way they could get there is to buy their way in. And yet the police didn't arrest anybody for buying their way in or for selling the peerages or anything else. You then have the situation, don't you, with the cash for the expenses fraud. The police had definite evidence that 310 members of Parliament had defrauded their expenses, but they didn't arrest a single one of them. And why didn't they arrest a single one of them? Because the police, the top echelons of the police, were corrupt as well. There was a major public outcry. They arrested 5 members of Parliament who were all sent to prison for defrauding their expenses, but they had hard evidence that 310 had defrauded their expenses.
That's right. That's
305 cases of perverting the course of justice by not putting them on trial, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and the police force are the same. Now, the officer who, in fact, was responsible for both of those inquiries, the cash for honours and the expenses frame, John Yates, subsequently had to resign from the police because he used police-owned air miles to buy airline tickets for his 2 sons to go on holiday. It was caught, and it was in the papers. John Yates' boob. I put a formal allegation in against John Yates for fraudulent misappropriation of air miles, which equal taxpayers' money, which is under the Theft Act. You know, we had a senior police officer that everybody was saying he was seriously honest copper, but a senior police officer was actually stealing air miles that belonged to the police force to send his sons on a holiday. And then we find out that a couple of weeks later, his boss, who told him he had to pay the money back, you know, you try robbing a bank and coming out and finding armed policemen all over the place, and then say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, chaps, I'll go and put the money back. Is that okay? Can I go home now?" They're not going to let you, are they? But John Yates was told he had to pay the money back, but his boss was then forced to resign because he'd taken a £12,000 freebie. And they tell you in the training school there is no such thing as a free dinner. Somebody gives you something for nothing. At some stage, they're going to come back and they're going to want something for it. And the Commissioner of Police took a £12,000 freebie and was forced to resign over it.
Who
the higher echelons
Albert?
of the police are corrupt.
Who took that bung? You broke up.
Yeah, the Commissioner of Police.
Right. Okay. All right.
Thomas
White
and his wife went to a health club and spent 2 weeks in a health club, an exclusive health club.
Yeah.
The bill for that came to £12,000, and the bill was waived. They got it for nothing. But you know, people say, well, you know, he was caught with a £12,000. How many freebies has he taken that he hasn't been caught for? How many do we not know about? Yeah. And the same goes for all of the other police. You know, how many do we know? And they protect one another. Deputy Commissioner jumps in his armoured car, locks all the doors so that he's nice and safe, while another officer is being stabbed to death outside Parliament.
That's right.
You know, I mean, and instead of actually putting him on a discipline offence for neglect of duty and all the rest of it, what do? Oh, he was justified. He was right to do that because being a deputy, he would have been a target. Bloody what?
In fairness, was he not protecting other people in that car, as I understood?
Well, no, it wasn't, because the people were already in an armoured car. All they had to do is shut the door and press the button that locked it from the inside.
He didn't have to be in there with them, did he? Especially, it has to be said.
No, he did.
You'd have thought he might have been.
But the fact of the matter is, had he got out of his car and had he gone to assist the other officer, had the attacker decided that he was a more prominent and better target, he would have turned around, left the other officer and gone for him. Well, firstly, he's a police officer, so he's trained in how to disarm people who are, you know, with knives and stuff. You are taught how to do that. I've done it. You're taught how to do it. So first of all, there's no certainty that he was going to be killed or injured because he's taught how to avoid being and to actually take people. But secondly, it gives the other officer a chance to take the bloke from behind. Yeah. Instead of which he ran and hid in a police car, and the other guy gets killed. His widow gets £12,500 a year, I think, pension, whereas this bloke, Craig Mackey, gets £12,500 a month pension, and he's going to be allowed to retire early because of the public outcry about his actions. He should get no pension. He should get nothing. He has committed a serious neglect of duty, which has contributed to the death of another officer.
Okay,
you know, I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrous what these people are doing. They gang together and they actually protect one another. You go to somebody with a good allegation, as I have, it gets thrown out, and then you take it to somewhere else that's responsible for the whole shower, like the police authority, and then they chuck it out because they won't go against the police. You know, it is great. Where do we, the ordinary people, where do we get the protection that we need? Not just from the criminals in this world, but from the
politicians,
police and politicians.
From fascism. I completely agree with you.
Where do we get the protections that we need? Do you know what I mean?
Let's take a few comments. Chris Rumbold simply says common purpose, referring to, I think, our parliamentarians in this case. Jennifer M. Murphy, just get away from it, I think referring to the EU. Thomas White, Ollie, all our cuts in our armed forces and police force, and even the cuts in our NHS was and is all part of the plan for PESCO and the Lisbon Treaty. Come 2022, our country will be just like North Korea or Saudi Arabia. And Lee Holland says our own government is breaking the law. This appears to be treason, and yet our freedom of speech is being denied. And if we protest, we will be arrested. What options do the people have to fight this corruption? John Middleton says one law for one, another for other. Legal. David Laddie, my pitchfork is ready. And Gail Marie Gandhi says they have protected themselves from prosecution, referring to the MPs and their expenses. Albert, sorry, I thought you said something. I thought you wanted to chip in there. Kevin Burke, all lining their own pockets, all corrupt, sick of it, says Jennifer M. Murphy. And John Middleton, I was going to say the government don't pay the self. It's the people who voted them in who pays them. Lisa Hughes, after seeing the expose on BBC Panorama and seeing John Sweeney having a 220 quid liquid lunch and saying, F it, it's all on expenses, we see that as just a drop in the ocean, referring, I guess, to the MPs' expenses. And did you see that? Did you see Tommy Robinson's expose, Albert?
No, I didn't. In fact, no.
I haven't seen it yet either. I hear it's quite powerful.
Can I just talk about Tommy Robinson for a moment?
Go on.
There is such a great deal of anti-feeling about Tommy Robinson in the establishment and everywhere else.
Yep, there is.
But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter whether you like Tommy Robinson as a person or not. Mm-hmm. That's irrelevant. The fact is that Tommy Robinson is highlighting the rape and prostitution of our children by an ethnic group in this. Well, it's not an ethnic group, is it? Because there is no particular ethnicity in Islam, by Islamic people in this country. And he's highlighting that. And for his trouble to protect our children, he's actually getting a great deal of abuse. Not just from the politicians and the people like that, but also from an awful lot of ordinary people who, because they say he is right-wing or far right-wing, they think that he is the devil incarnate. When people say to me, oh, right-wing, extreme right-wing, I don't think that's bad. I read that as patriot. Do you know what I mean? Because if you look at all of the people that they call right-wing, they are patriots. Every single thing that Nick Griffin said was going to happen 20 years ago has happened. Yeah. Every single thing. Doesn't matter whether you like Nick Griffin, whether you like his politics or not. The fact is he was right. And yet he gets vilified.
They're scared of him, though. They're scared of Tommy Robinson. They're scared of the fact that he has such a big support base, no?
Well, this is the point, you see. And you look at the way Farage refers to Tommy Robinson. And yet Farage, in my opinion, is in fact the enemy. I don't think Farage has ever had any intention of leaving the European Union. And when the vote was being counted, he conceded the vote before it was counted. And then once it had been counted and we'd won the vote, instead of putting UKIP on a war footing to fight a national election, in which case with the following they were getting and all the rest of it, he'd put them on a war footing at the time, UKIP could have done very well in a national election. But instead of doing that, he walks away immediately, throwing UKIP into turmoil for 2 years. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
completely.
now he's starting up another fight. Now Gerard Batten is getting the UKIP is getting back up on its feet again and doing relatively well. Farage starts another party in competition to UKIP and Gerard Batten. The man is the enemy.
You believe? Okay, well, I mean, it's something that a lot of us wonder. Yeah, but you personally believe that Nigel Farage has controlled opposition? And has been from the beginning.
I think Nigel Farage is only interested in what suits Nigel Farage. He likes the adulation. He likes the acclaim. He likes the expenses he gets in Europe. He likes being famous.
It's hard to say how much of this is true, though. I mean, it has to be. He did deliver us that referendum. Did he not? Him and UKIP back then delivered us that referendum. In fairness to him, could it not be that he's been gotten at?
Well, can I tell you something, Ollie?
Go on.
Years ago, I was in UKIP. I was the chairman of the Henley branch of UKIP.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a conference, I think in Exeter, and I asked Steve Harris, who was the South East coordinator, if I could talk to conference for 5 minutes. He said, you have to see Farage. I spoke to Farage. Farage said, you have to see Steve Harris. I got them both together and I said, right, now, I don't know which of you is the one with the authority, but you're both here now. I want to talk to conference for 5 minutes. What I want to do is talk to them about the treason of the Heath government. What I want to happen is for every UKIP branch, I can supply the documentation to each branch or to UKIP generally, and you can distribute it to the branches. Each branch then, I want every member of the branch to walk into a police station with a documentation evidencing the treason of the Heath government, and I want them to walk into the police station and say, I want to report a crime. Not as a member of UKIP, but as Mrs. Brown of 35 Acacia Avenue. Mm-hmm. If you've got a local branch of UKIP and there are 20 members in it, that is 20 treason reports going in local police stations, not all the same police station, but in local police stations all over that constituency area. Mm-hmm. And what happens then is that those police stations, they give you a crime book number, they then send it up to the head office, to the force headquarters. And if that happens in every police force area in the country, every constituency puts in 20 or 30 complaints of treason on the same subject. It all gets sent up to the head office. Head office look at that. They think this is really big. We can't just drop it. So they give it a crime book number. They record it as a crime. They then transfer it to the Metropolitan Police, where, in fact, the Metropolitan Police have now got 42 police forces sending them thousands upon thousands of crime reports of treason, all on the same thing, all at the same time. Makes it exceedingly difficult for the Metropolitan Police then to refuse to deal with it. Yeah? Farage refused to entertain that idea. A couple of weeks later, UKIP in Scotland troop into a police station, all in their UKIP rosettes, with the UKIP flags, with the UKIP ties, with big posters saying UKIP. They all plow into a police station to report the treason that I'd asked Farage if we could all report. But the police won't touch it because it is political. You know, it's no good going in as a political party and reporting a crime. The police won't touch it. It's political. But if you go in as Mrs. Brown or Mr. Jones of 35 Acacia Avenue, they don't have a choice. They have to accept it. Farage turned that down and then made sure that absolutely every police force in the country would not touch treason because it's political, because it was reported by UKIP Scotland as a political report. I mean, the whole thing is a setup. It's a stitch-up. Farage is the enemy.
Okay.
Believe me, Farage is the enemy.
Let me give a selection of flavour of opinion from in the comments here. Karen Orm says, Batten all the way for me. Thomas White, if anyone can see the Daily Brexit on the 8th of November 2017, I said the very same thing about Farage. Helen Lasky-Smith is talking to Gail. Hey, both of you. Jennifer M. Murphy, Heath put us in illegally. Now we can't get out. Gail Marie Gandhi says, we're in a dictatorship anyway, and the referendum has just highlighted it to us. That's actually a question. I'm not sure that it needs to be a question. Amanda Thompson, he's already said he's not going to hang around, though. So who then when he goes? That's I don't know who she's referring to there. Heath sold the Queen's land, says Karen Orms. Thomas White Ollie has not been got at. Talking about Farage, I think, Thomas White here. He's not been got at. His job was to divide the voters. And had he have stayed in UKIP would now be in number 10 by now. David Laddie Batten coming to Durham next month, trying to find a date. And Jennifer Murphy says, we go to London and stay there. Farage is a springboard for Conservatives, says Margaret Painter. Albert, stop doing that, because that's really noisy. I don't know what you're doing, but it was very noisy. Lisa Hughes says, yes, I have to agree. I think Farage has shown his true colours, and Gerard Batten has worked for 10, 12 years towards getting the referendum, but he didn't take the limelight like Farage. And Kathy Farrell says Batten is the best man for UKIP. Has to be said, folks around here definitely are way, way more keen on Batten than they are on Farage. But it also, we're possibly got a bit of a quandary here, yeah, because personally, I got to say, I don't have any loyalty for any political party. I don't have any loyalty for any particular people, individuals, apart from Brexit, UK sovereignty, to not have your vote diluted at the ballot box. As basic as that. And so it's a pragmatic, how do you get it? I became a member of UKIP because I do think that Batten says the right things. I think I've got no problem with Tommy Robinson or anything like that. I think it's important that there's a whole swathe of people that he represents, that it's about time they had some representation. And I think there's good on Batten for looking after a few more people and having a slightly broader church. And I don't think that these people are right-wing. I think they're just people that care about their culture. I'm really fed up with the labels, left-wing, right-wing, whatever. You either care about your sovereignty or you don't. You either care about your freedom and all the rest of it, or you don't. And have respect for culture, for yourselves and for other people, or you don't. So anyway, but now we're in a situation, Albert, where we've got this thing, the Brexit Party, Farage is going to lead it or whatever, apparently. They have signed up, according to him, now this could be nonsense, and it probably, I don't know, he reckons 100,000 people signed up in the first weekend or something like that. The bottom line being that it is splitting the UKIP base, the UKIP vote, absolutely. We could have been, maybe we still could be, Albert, in a situation at the next general election where UKIP could have been in a kind of a DUP type position, maybe not as many seats as that, but maybe a smattering of seats that it could have helped to form a coalition to get Brexit over the line somehow, or to roll back, or to force a potential Conservative government's hand to actually, I don't know, sorting it out and doing what we told them to do, for crying out loud. Well, they asked us to tell them what to do. But now that's not going to happen with this split of the vote, with the Brexit Party. And so I got to say, on the one hand, I feel really, really bad about Farage for having created that. But then again, on the other hand, if it's true that this whole Tommy Robinson card is obfuscating from, do we want Brexit, and the basic issue, which is Brexit, because everything else is irrelevant. If we don't get Brexit, we can't control anything else anyway. So there is an argument. You could say that you've got to have a party that is just looking at Brexit, and any other policy directives they have got to be pretty soft policies and nothing that's kind of too hard line, because we have to get Brexit. I say hard line in terms of how the media could spin it, yeah? And we know how they spin it with UKIP, and they can't do that with the Brexit Party. So I don't know, but you tell me, Albert, there is, I suppose, an argument on the one hand for there to be the Brexit Party, but on the other hand, it is nonetheless, it is just ensuring that we do not have any Brexit-oriented party that is actually going to gain any MPs at the next general election.
Well, I think had Farage stayed in thing and put UKIP on a war footing, you could well have found that after a general election, you might well have been the main opposition party if you weren't the government. I think at the moment, the way things are going, I think if UKIP were to get 14 or 15, 20 people in as members of Parliament, you would replace the Liberal Party, wouldn't you, in Parliament? And so basically, I think we have to go down that road. But can I just talk to you a little bit about the Labour Party? Because we've got Jeremy Corbyn now saying he wants to have another referendum and all this crap.
That's right.
Edward III brought in some very good laws. He brought in the Act of Provisos, which made it a criminal offence akin to treason to dispose of any English asset to a foreign owner. And this was because people were leaving farms and stuff to the local abbey because they wanted to buy themselves into heaven when they died. And the local abbey was promptly transferring the ownership to the Pope. And that meant the Pope was getting an awful lot of real estate in England. And so Edward III brought in the Act of Provisos to prevent that by saying that no foreign owner, no property, no assets of the country like farms and stuff like that could in fact be sold to a foreign owner. This was repealed by the 19th in 1948 by the Criminal Law Revision Act. 1948, we had a Labour government.
Right.
And in fact, the Labour government repealed this very important law that protected basically our farming and our industries and everything else, which was an asset of the countries. Since that's been repealed, of course, and we joined the European Union.
Why did they do that? What reason did they give for repealing in 1948?
Well, I have absolutely no idea. I have asked and I can't find an answer. But I mean, basically, he made another law, which was the Act of Praemunire. Now, both these laws were passed in 1351. That was repealed by Harold Wilson's government in 1967. And basically, that
what did that do? What did that do, Albert? The Act of Praemunire. What did that do?
Well, I'm just about to tell you.
Sorry,
that forbade the imposition of any foreign law onto this country. It forbade the drawing out of any of the king's subjects out of this country to be tried in foreign courts. And it forbade any of the bishops in this country from excommunicating anybody on the orders of the Pope. This again was an act of treason. Now, that was repealed in 1967. Now, when I asked the Law Commission who repealed it why they had repealed this very valuable law that protected us, because we now have the European arrest warrant, don't we? We now have, on the day we joined the European Union, we took on 2,000 new laws, which was more than we'd made for ourselves in the previous 750 years, because we didn't need them. We already had very good law. And we've gone on taking thousands of extra laws every day since. Now, and of course, you know, we're in a terrible situation, aren't we, with what's going on? But this law was repealed down. And I asked the Law Commission why this law had been repealed, and they said to me that it had been repealed because it hadn't been used for a very long time. And I said, well, I rather thought you people were all lawyers in there. And they said, well, we are. We're all solicitors and barristers. And I said to them, well, surely as solicitors and barristers, you know that the purpose of law is not to punish crime, but to prevent it. But a law that doesn't have a punishment is toothless. So you give a law, you make a law to prevent a crime being committed. And if it is committed, you give them a punishment. Now, in this particular case, the punishment was very severe because it was the same punishment as for treason. And I said to them, the fact that you haven't had to prosecute anybody for committing a praemunire for the last 200-300 years doesn't mean the law is not working and it's out of date. It means it's working very, very well. So as a result of that, our industry was, I mean, take for example, British Steel. That was able to be bought up by Chorus, a Dutch company, who promised faithfully they would keep it running in this country and then promptly dismantled it and sent all the work over to Holland. We have the French and the Germans own most of our gas and water companies and electricity companies and all the rest of it. So we have nothing left which are assets of this country's, all of which would have been prevented by the Act of Provisos. And I think we need to reinstate these acts and we need to get these things back. And I think we say to people, you know, our car industry, for example, that's been closed down over here. And then other people come in from other countries and bought it up. Car industry is an asset of ours. Our farms have been told, don't grow food, grow hedges. But so that the butterflies can thrive, for example. But our that's been closed down.
Sorry?
Yeah, but our farmers have always grown hedges because it stops the cattle getting into the wheat. So that, you know, they've always grown them. So we've always had hedges for the butterflies. And we have so much interference in this country from foreign countries who now own just about everything we have. I believe the French own Dover Harbour.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Certainly they were talking about some years ago about buying it or it being sold to the French. How the hell can you sell Dover Harbour to anybody?
Well,
it's part of England.
Yeah, I mean, this whole Huawei thing, whatever, this Chinese company, it just beggars belief, doesn't it? I mean, so this is a government in China, the kind of government that has concentration camps for people that it doesn't like. They call them re-education camps. The kind of country that has a dictator, and very happy to show it off. The fact that they've signed this guy in for the rest of his life, could do anything. The kind of country that tells companies that they have to basically cooperate with the government under whichever way, shape or form that they are asked to do. And then we've got our government saying, you know what, let's do this whole 5G network deal with this Chinese company. Just absolutely, I don't care how technically advanced they are. I don't care. It's just absolute madness to have a Chinese company, for crying out loud, in charge of anything to do with British foreign infrastructure, no?
Well, this is the point, you see, but
it's just money, isn't it? It's just money. Somebody is getting a backhander. There is absolutely no national reason, no sensible, pragmatic reason for giving a country that treats its own citizens the way it does and doesn't give a stuff about the rest of the world, doesn't care about intellectual copyright, anything like that. We just shouldn't be trading with them at all, frankly. We just got ourselves into such a state with China. Sorry, Albert, bit of a rant.
Well, we certainly shouldn't be selling our assets. And Edward III knew that in 1351. And it was the Labour government that got rid of the Act of Provisos, which prevented that. It was the Labour government that got rid of the Act of Praemunire, which prevented foreign law being imposed upon us and people being dragged out on a European arrest warrant. It was a Labour government that now wants a second referendum. The Labour Party, and I keep telling everybody, the Labour Party are not on our side. You give the working man a bit of authority and it goes to his bloody head every single time. Every bad law in this country originated in the House of Commons, where we're supposed to have common people looking after our interests. That was the object of the exercise. And yet every bad law since 1420 has been originated in the House of Commons. There was a vote in on the 8th of March 1748 saying that 1784 saying that George III was the Supreme Governor of England. They've never had another vote since then. And yet Queen Elizabeth, in fact her grandfather, King George V, was told that he keeps all of his prerogatives when he came to the crown, but he can't use any of them without the backing of a government minister. That means he's got none. It was a Labour government that took it all away from him, or Asquith shower, whatever they were. But the point is, Asquith and all his shower, they were Fabians, and they stole the royal prerogative. And they were in the House of Commons. We need to seriously decide who we're going to elect to the House of Commons. And members of Parliament should not belong to political parties. Every single member of Parliament should be an independent and should be directly answerable to his constituency that elected him. Every one of them. And when you get there, they have a little vote, decide who they're going to make Prime Minister. The Prime Minister selects his cabinet, and then from there on in, it's everybody represents their constituency with no party whips, no nothing.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It says in the MP's notebook, in their handbook, that they're supposed to represent their constituents, doesn't it?
See, the Bill of Rights says that all votes in Parliament have to be free. And yet, how is it free if you're getting whipped into voting in a particular way?
Well, it isn't, is it?
How is it free? You should be voting according to your conscience. And if you're a member of Parliament, you don't have a conscience. Your conscience is the conscience of the people who elected you.
When was that set aside then, Albert?
The majority of people in this country would like the restitution of the death penalty for particular types of crime.
Albert, when was the Bill of Rights set aside then? When was it decided, you know what, we're going to whip people into the lobby?
Well, the Bill of Rights has never been set aside. It's simply being ignored. And this is the point. If you don't
How long has it been ignored? For how long has it been ignored then? How long have we had, if you like, effective party politics, i.e. people getting whipped?
The Bill of Rights has been ignored for at least 100 years now.
Right.
But it's still law. And this is the point. If you take the Act of Supremacy of 1559, that contained an oath. Part of that oath said, no foreign prince, person, prelate, state or potentate hath or ought to have any jurisdiction, superiority, supremacy, or power or authority, ecclesiastical or spiritual in this land. I mean, those are the words, I've jumbled them up a bit, but those are what it actually says. But I understand that just recently they have repealed the wording of the oath from the Act of Supremacy of 1559. Can't understand why, because the same wording appears in the Bill of Rights of 1689, which they're ignoring. If you take the Act of Settlement of 1701, that says that a naturalised subject has most but not all of the rights of a natural born subject. They cannot receive any order of nobility. They cannot sit in either House of Parliament. They cannot sit on the Privy Council, and they cannot hold any office of public trust, military or civil. The reason for that is because when you are naturalised, your first duty of loyalty is to the country of your birth. If you are born here but your father was naturalised before you, then your first duty of loyalty is to your father's country, not to this country. So in 1949, the Labour government put in the 1949 Nationality Act, where they repealed that restriction of the 1701 Act of Settlement, except for one important point. 1701 Act of Settlement lays down the inheritance for the Crown. It's major constitutional law, and it doesn't come any bigger than deciding who's going to be king, does it? And the Nationality Act is ordinary statute law under administrative law, and an administrative law cannot, according to Sir John Laws in the Metric Martyrs case, repeal by implied repeal a constitutional law. So although we've now got our House of Commons and our House of Lords and every government building full up with naturalised people, we have naturalised police officers on our street, naturalised army and navy officers. Although we've got all of this stuff now, the whole thing is constitutionally illegal. And it's illegal for a very good reason.
Okay. Albert said it. Yes, hear you. Totally hear you. It's not possible to reverse that.
Oh, of course it's possible. I mean, you simply
not without a great enormous problem. And the vast majority of people, Muslims, for example, I'm sure are just very decent people, no, but we do have a threat where we don't know, and there is a lot of extremism going on in those kind of quarters. And we don't know who are the fair dealers, I guess, is the problem we have.
My feeling about Muslims is quite simple.
Go on.
If they are practicing Muslims, or if they believe that they are Muslims and they accept that, all of the teachings of the Quran, then they are quite clearly the enemy, and we should throw the lot out of the country. I mean, my personal feeling is I would give them 8 weeks to go at their own expense or bury them, one or the other, because frankly they are too dangerous to keep here. Because if you look at what Muslims have done over the last 1400 years and what they're still doing today in the Middle East, you can buy a slave in the Middle East for, I think, for $400. We don't have slavery in this country. We have not had slavery in this country since the reign of Edward the Confessor.
I don't know that it's fair to say that all Muslims you could tar with that brush.
If they profess to be practicing Muslims, if they profess to be believing it, they believe the Quran. And if you read the Quran, it tells you that they have to kill all infidels. If you believe the Quran, it tells you that they are able to take infidel women as slaves, sex slaves, or men as slaves, whatever. If you believe the Quran, then that's what it tells you. Now, that's a dangerous thing to have in your country. People who believe that rubbish in your country.
Well, yeah, but Albert, yeah, I if they believe that, I agree with you totally, complete nutters. But on the other hand, you could argue that would be the case about some people that, I don't know, think that the Old Testament is gospel.
Yeah, but we tend now, don't we, not to read the Old Testament.
Tend is the key word there.
Yeah, well, we tend not to read the Old Testament. We tend today, and the churches operate on the teachings of Jesus Christ, which is the New Testament, which teaches love, not hate. It doesn't encourage slavery. It encourages forgiveness and love. So basically, it's exactly. I mean, the Old Testament and the Quran, they're not really a million miles apart. They're not really a million miles apart from the Torah. and all the rest of it. But the fact of the matter is, the New Testament, which is what we use today, for the most part,
people tend to disregard
today,
the Old Testament. Sure, I don't know what the deal is with Muslims, because I don't really know much about them. And I think half the problem we have is that people don't seem to know much about us. I mean, they don't even speak English, most of them. Seems to me. I don't know. Look, just go through a few more comments here, what people are saying and their take on this. Jennifer M. Murphy says, a man arrested forces preaching the Bible. Lisa Hughes, it's the hadith that's the problem. That's where the extremism is, more so than the Quran. We are totally incompatible, says Karen Ormez. Kazi Mack says, Trump doesn't want them, wise fella. And Madge Baldry says, there are no moderate Muslims. 109 verses need kicking out, says Jennifer M. Murphy. Dave Jenkins says, enough of us standing. They'll back down. And a lot of people agreeing with you, Albert. And Kevin Burke, yeah, well said, Albert. John Middleton, my religion is this. The sky is here before any Burks. I do wonder, if I do wonder, what religion is God? Yeah, what religion is God? What religion is God? To me, it's just all a complete joke. I just find it a real insult to my intelligence, Albert, that in the year 2019 we placed so much stock in religion, full stop, and that we should, if we're bringing people into our country, it seems to me that we should say, do you believe in some of this hardcore stuff or not? But we don't. We seem to be courting tooth fairy merchants of whatever religion. I mean, why on earth do we give the Catholic faith any airtime anymore after what they've done to kids around the world? I don't know. It just seems to me that we need to take more of a hard line, a logical line on religion, full stop, and that some of the more extreme, Salafist or whatever take on religion are the kind of things that we just shouldn't give any truck.
Well, I think there are a lot of arguments about religion. The fact of the matter is that you do have people in the Catholic Church who have consistently over the years abused children and other things, and you do have the same thing in the Church of England and every other church. But the fact of the matter is, the Bible, from which they take their teachings, does not advocate that. The Quran, on the other hand, it does. It advocates that all of the time. I saw somewhere that, in fact, yesterday, and I can't remember what one particular Muslim sect have got a saying that boys are for pleasure, women are for babies. It's just a religious belief that they have, and the fact of the matter is, it is totally alien to the way we do things. If I went down the road with a banner saying death to all Muslims, I would get arrested and charged with threats to kill or something like that, a major crime. I'd get arrested for doing that. Yet a Muslim can walk down the road with a banner saying death to all infidels, death to those who insult the Prophet. Yeah. If I rode down the road and said death to anybody who insults Jesus Christ, I'd get arrested. Yeah. But yet the Muslims are able to do this and not get arrested.
You know what, though? We've fallen... Hold on. Whoa. We've fallen into the trap again, Albert, though, have we not? Because, yes, this is an enormous issue. Of course it's an enormous issue. We've got conflicting cultures in the same kind of Petri dish, wondering which culture is going to, do what to what. And it's a bit of a concern. It's obviously a massive, massive concern. But the bottom line is that there is no debate about this whatsoever. People are scared of the debate. There's no debate on the mainstream media, not because they're scared of it, because that's the agenda. They don't want people to be talking about this. And as soon as a political party, so we're coming full circle here really, such as UKIP, dips their toe into this water, the mainstream media rips them apart. And that is a big, big problem that we have when actually what we need is Brexit. Because if we don't get Brexit, we cannot sort out anything else.
One of the ladies, Olly, who is in the English Constitution group, placed a thing on my page that she works for the BBC, and that the BBC and all the other media outlets had a D notice slapped on them that they are not permitted to report the atrocities of any Muslims. Yeah. So a Muslim could go down the road with a machine gun 150 people, and the news media are not allowed to report it. And yet if I walked down the road with a machine gun and shot one person, it would be all over the media. There is this massive double standard, and it all originates in Parliament, because Parliament are laying down rules that they are not entitled to lay down. You know, we are entitled. We're English people, Welsh or Scots, whatever, but we are British people, and we are entitled to know what the hell is going on in our own country. And nobody has a right to tell us that we can't.
But we're not, are we? Because they don't even tell us when she goes and signs the UN Migration Compact. She doesn't. Well, they don't even tell us. They don't even tell us. It's just incredible.
This is the point. You see, if she stood on a street corner and she asked 100 people walking past, should I sign this?
Yeah.
I'll guarantee that all 100 of them, or at least 99 of them, would say get lost.
Yeah, and wherever they came from as well, probably. Migrants included in that would say, no way, you've got to be joking, for crying out loud. We've got to have some kind of screening. I don't know. Look, Albert, let's do this again. Let's please resume this, because we kind of run out of time. But you're always, it's awesome. Always lovely having you on the show, particularly when you wear your shirt. God bless you. I want to leave with playing this thing, which I played before the show as well. And it's a bit Ramona, yeah. The lyrics are a wee bit Ramona. I apologise for that, but it is funny nonetheless. This is David Cameron, that thing, Comedy Joe. So enjoy this, I hope. Yeah, blimey.
Brexit instigator, see you later. Gonna hit the road. Gotta hit that road. Something changed in the atmosphere when I split the nation, so I disappeared. I'm going to be blamed for this mess. Time flies by when I'm living dicked up and you're dying in austerity. There's a dead pig's gob that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be living off my trust fund underneath the hot sun, forgetting that I'm someone who held a referendum that divided a nation and broke the United Kingdom. Call me Dave, I'm a football fan, but is it Aston Villa or West Ham? I don't know.
Yeah, no, he doesn't know.
I'm chillaxing round the clock on holiday in Greece with my trotters up. I can get used to this. Standing guy at the front just called me a twat, but I got off scot-free. So I won't look back. Swat. Living on my trust fund underneath the hot sun, forgetting that I'm someone who held a referendum that divided a nation and broke the United Kingdom.
I don't know that this is so funny, actually. I'm not so sure that they're so funny, actually. I want to say thank you, Amanda Rolson, though, for suggesting I play that. But the thing is, it's too close for comfort, actually. Albert, God bless you, man. Thank you, and I hope you'll come back on soon, and we'll continue.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, Ollie.
Thank you, mate. Oh. I want to say a big cheers to Albert Burgess coming in, constitutionalist. You've been you've been watching the Daily Brexit with me, Olly Connelly. Back tomorrow. I think old Piers might be in tomorrow. I don't know. I need to ask him, actually. I'll ask him. Yeah, talk some aliens and stuff like that. Why not? I have to say, Albert, I do find it very frustrating, this whole Brexit thing. Oh.
It is very difficult, isn't it?
It is. It's an absolute mental bloody torture. I mean, it really is, Try and joke about it, but it is. Maybe, could we not collectively sue the government? Is that such a bad idea? Could we not, seriously, Albert, collectively sue the government for mental torture?
Well, we could sue them for a lot of things, but the problem. Yeah, we could sue them for a lot of things.
I'm getting your feedback
we could
there.
sue them for a lot of things, but.
I've got your tab. Never mind. We'll ask you that.
Yeah,
Remember that. Remember that question.
But they're gonna defend it on taxpayers' money, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah, and the likes of the Tony Blairs of this world will be getting paid off the back of it, as per usual. Oh, what a joke. Albert, okay, last question. Are we going to see Brexit on the 29th of March, 28th of March, whatever it is? Albert? Oh, you can't hear me now. Are we going to get Brexit at the end of March?
Well, I would be very surprised if we do, and if we don't, I think we should have a revolution and throw the lot in the river. And then just go to Buckhouse and say to the Queen, look, we want out, get us out.
Unbelievable that we're asking ourselves these kind of questions, isn't it? It's disgusting that we are asking ourselves these kind of questions. That is what we're reduced to. Do we have to use violence to protect our sovereignty?
Well, I think in fact I personally have been of the opinion for quite a long time now that actually a violent armed revolution is the best way and the only way, because our politicians are not listening. Doesn't matter how often you tell them, doesn't matter how loudly you tell them, they're not listening. And I think, and I did suggest on the internet, that what we need to do is a dozen really big men should go to a surgery for their politician, and they should introduce his head to the four walls in the room and tell him that unless he does what he's supposed to do, then the next time he won't just need an ambulance, he will need an undertaker.
Albert Burgess, God bless you. Thank you very much indeed. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, good night, Ollie. Good night.
Cheerio.